Ashi.
What is up, YouTube? This is Anashi with a brand new deck profile video. This time I'll be showing you my Bamboo Sword Thunder deck. For those of you who aren't familiar with this was the deck I temporarily ran in place of Batteryman Hunter because I couldn't quite figure out a build that I liked for them just yet. And I've been getting a few requests to bring this deck back, especially since I can't really call it an archetype, but this ragtag group of Thunder-type monsters got another member to their little troop. So I decided to shelve Batteryman Hunter for the moment and bring these guys back for just a little while. Let's take a closer look. Starting off with the monster lineup, we have a play set of Batteryman Solar. If it's normal or special summoned, I can send any Thunder-type monster from my deck to the graveyard, and I now have two primary targets for this. And during either player's turn, if a Thunder-type monster is summoned to my side of the field, I can special summon a Batteryman token to my field as well, providing for additional defense and also possibly for a couple of small link plays. I have a pair of Denko Sekka, or at least I would if I could ever get the second copy I needed out of the mail. It cannot be special summoned, but while you control no set spell traps, neither player can set or activate spell traps that are set on the field. I'm noticing a sudden rise in meta decks using a specific counter trap card that they search from their deck to the hand, Salamangreat, Orcus, probably a couple others, and this card was basically put in to directly counter that. I have a pair of Lightning Rod Lord. Neither player can activate spell cards during main phase 1. Simple, short and sweet, very devastating to basically any Pendulum deck and any spell-dependent deck. I have a playset of Thunder King Ryo. Neither player can add cards from their deck to their hand except by drawing them, and during either player's turn, when your opponent would special summon a monster, you contribute this to negate that summon and destroy it. Next we have two copies of the latest member of the Thunderstun troop, Thunderclap Monk. When your opponent activates a monster effect while you control this special summon card, you can tribute this card, negate it, and if you do, destroy it. And if it happens to be sent from the field to the graveyard, and that's by any means by the way, you can special summon any Thunder monster from your hand in defense. Both of these effects are hard once per turn, and while it does suck that this thing has to be special summoned to get its effect off, you'll find that it's actually not as difficult as you might think. A pair of Zap Mustang, and I'm not gonna lie, I've gotten a lot of rage quits out of this one particular card. Now, it can't be normal summoned or set, it can only be special summoned by a card effect during your main phase 1, and only during a turn that you have not special summoned yet. But in exchange, if you meet these requirements, as long as you face up on the field, neither player can special summon on their respective turns unless they have attacked first, and even then, they only get so many special summons equal to the number of attacks made. And, as it happens, he's also unable to be destroyed by battle twice per turn. And I also have one copy of Thunderclap Skywolf. If it's special summoned from the graveyard, you can destroy all face-up monsters your opponent controls, but you don't get a battle phase the turn you use this effect. Next, we move into the hefty list of spell cards. A pair of Broken Bamboo Sword. The equipped monster gains a whopping 0 attack. Seriously, that's literally all it does. It's basically just there for the name. Burning Bamboo Sword says that if you activate a Bamboo Sword card while this card is already face up in your spell and trap zone, you can skip your opponent's next main phase 1. And yes, this triggers off of a copy of itself or Broken. Broken's not looking so bad now, is it? 3 copies of Cursed Bamboo Sword. The equipped monster gains 0 attack, just like Broken, but you can target another Bamboo Sword card you control, returning it to the hand, and if you do, the equipped monster can make a direct attack, which is handy for a deck that basically lives off of floodgating the opponent. Now, you can only use this effect once per turn, but what isn't once per turn is if this card happens to go to the graveyard, you can add any Bamboo Sword card from your deck to your hand except another copy of Curse. And where there's Cursed Bamboo Sword, there's bound to be Foolish Burial Goods, which sends any spell trap from the deck to the graveyard. And I also play 3 Golden Bamboo Sword. If you control a Bamboo Sword equipped spell, you get to draw 2 cards. It has semi-easy requirements to activate, it's not once per turn, and it's just a generally great draw card. I also have a playset of Left Arm Offering. If you have 2 or more other cards in your hand when you activate this card, you can banish your entire hand and then add any spell from your deck to your hand. But you cannot set spell traps during the turn you activate this card effect. There's also a playset of Photon Sanctuary. You special summon 2 tokens in defense mode, which are light thunder types of level 4, but these tokens cannot attack or be used as synchro material, and you cannot summon other monsters the turn you activate this card except for lights. I also have 1 copy of Raigeki. This deck doesn't exactly have much in the way of destabilizing boards outside of Thunderclap Skywolf, and that's not exactly the most easy card to access, so I decided to throw one of this in here just to give me an extra option. Now we get to Terminal World, a 3-of that is basically the backbone to the entirety of this deck's lockdown structure. You can only activate this card during main phase 1, but while it's on the field, neither player gets a main phase 2. There's a simple 3-card combo involving this, Burning Bamboo Sword, and any other Bamboo Sword card that you can activate. By playing those cards in the right order, you essentially have skipped your opponent's turn. And a playset of Ties of the Brethren. In exchange for paying 2,000 life points, not getting any more special summons for the rest of the turn, and not getting a battle phase this turn, you can target any level 4 or lower monster you control, and special summon 2 monsters with the same type, attribute, and level from your deck, but all 3 monsters have to have a different name from each other. Now, since we don't have any trap cards in the main deck of this build, we're just gonna slide right into the side deck. We have 3 Herald of the Abyss, 3 Shared Ride, 3 Rivalry of Warlords, 3 Royal Decree, or I would if they'd ever show up in the mail, in the event that I need more back row protection, especially with today's meta, 1 Solemn Johnson, and 2 Solemn Strike. And finally, we finish up with the mostly unnecessary extra deck. A pair of Bujintei Tsukuyomi, a staple in basically any Thunder-type build I build that has enough level 4s to warrant it. You can attach a material, discard your entire hand of a minimum of 1 card, and then draw 2 new cards. 1 Evil Swarm Exciton Knight. Just like with Raigeki and Thunderclap Skywolf, this card is here to help me derail heavy boards that I don't exactly have an answer to. Once per chain during your main phase or your opponent's battle phase, you can detach a card if your opponent controls more cards in their hand and on their field total than you do, destroying all other cards on the field, but your opponent takes no more damage for this turn. There's also a pair of Utopia, which, aside from the obvious reason as to why you would play it, can detach a material from itself to negate any attack. 1 Utopia Prime, for the same reason as Utopia. You also have the ability to stack it on top of a Utopia, and if you happen to be losing the game by a difference of about 3,000 points or more, you can detach 3 materials from this card and reduce your life points to 10. If you do, you can destroy and banish all special summon monsters your opponent controls, and deal 300 damage to them for each. A pair of Starliege Pallid Dynamo, another staple alongside Bujintei Tsukuyomi. Once per turn, you can double detach to target any monster your opponent controls, change its attack to 0, and negate its effects, and these are permanent changes, by the way. But if he happens to be destroyed and sent to the graveyard by the opponent, you get to draw a card. And 1 Utopia the Lightning, which is the only real reason you'll see most people playing Utopias in their extra deck. Just like with Utopia Prime, you can stack him on top of a Utopia monster, but he can't be used as stack material. If he battles an opponent's monster, then until the end of the damage step, your opponent cannot activate any cards or effects. Also, if he happens to battle and has a Utopia monster on him as material, I can double detach and make his attack points 5,000 until the end of that battle. Moving into the Link monsters, we have a pair of Hippo Shenanigan. We have a play set of Some Summer Summoner, a hilarious Link monster that I am just enjoying a little bit too much in this deck. During the opponent's turn, you can discard a card and target a Thunder monster in your graveyard, except a Link, and special summon it to the zone that this card points to. And 1 Thunder Dragon Thunder Stormek. Oh jeez, I really wish they had just left the name Goliath. That would have sounded so much better than this mouthful. It requires 2+ Thunder monsters, which is surprisingly easy to pull off in this deck, especially if you happen to run Photon Sanctuary. It has an effect that involves other Thunder Dragon monsters, but since this is literally the only one that I run in this deck, it's not even worth mentioning. What is worth mentioning, though, is that if any Thunder monster or monsters I control are about to be destroyed, I can banish any 3 cards out of my graveyard in place of them all being destroyed. And that is the deck. Though I'm sure a few of you probably have questions as to why I haven't played it forever, and there's a bit of a story behind that. I was testing this build once we finally got the new Bamboo Sword card, Burning Bamboo Sword. I tested it against a good friend of mine, a guy by the name of Mello. You should totally check out his channel, by the way. He was also testing a deck of his, so we decided to have just a friendly game. But I didn't think to tell him that my deck had a potential turn skip in it. We played a game, and he did not get to play at all. And I felt absolutely disgusted with myself. So I shelved it indefinitely. I'm not even kidding. To this day, I still feel like trash because I did that to him. But out of nowhere, I did get a few people asking me to update the deck. And I didn't really understand why at first, but then I started seeing people saying that this was one of the more unique lockdown strategies they had ever seen. Despite the fact that it has easy answers, it still seems relatively fun to use, and it's far better than that goddamn nightmare of the Mystic Mind Burn deck. I guess that makes this build a lot more fair, and to a lot of people out there, a lot more fun to face. I thank you guys for watching the deck profile video. If you can think of any way that I can improve this Thunder Stun deck, feel free to let me know. In the meantime, this has been Nanashi, signing out.